Hey guys, my name is Liam, and today I'm going to be showing you how to set up a CS2 dedicated server using Docker and Windows. The first thing you want to do is install Docker. Docker is where the server will be running in its own container, so that when you restart your computer or if it crashes or something is to happen, you can launch it easily along with any other containers you'd like to with just one command. In our use case here, we're going to be running the Counter-Strike server alongside a database to store admin info. So install Docker, it'll have you restart your computer, but once you have it, you can launch it like this. There it is, and you can see we have no containers right now. So what we are going to do is we are going to pull up the Docker file that I made. So this is my GitHub right here, and you can go and download this as a zip file. So this will give you the Docker file and then two scripts that we're going to use to help with making updating the server easier. Okay, once you've downloaded the zip like this, you can open it up. And you can see the three files right here. For now, we only need the Docker Compose file. So I'm going to drag that into the directory where all my files are going to be stored. We are also going to create a new directory called cs2-data. That is something that our Docker file will use. Now, if you want to open the Docker Compose file, I'm going to open it with VS Code. I'm going to drag it over to this window. And here you can see there's some information that we need to fill out. So this is the container name up here that you don't need to change. Your srcds token is something you do need to change. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy the link here, and we are going to open up in our browser. And as you can see here, I already have tokens for my other servers, but we need to add a new one. So we want to make the app ID 730. And we will make the memo. I'm going to make it just test, but you can name it whatever you want depending on what the server will be. It's just a note for yourself so that you can keep track of all your servers. So we will hit create. And here you can see last logon, never. We haven't used it yet, but we do have the code right here. So we're going to copy that. I'm going to minimize this, and I will paste it where my token should go. So there, now we have that there. Now you can change the server name to whatever you want. I'm going to leave it to my dedicated server. The CS2 port I will leave to the default 27015, but you can change it. The problem with changing it is that if it's not set to 27015, it won't show up in the server browser, or at least not in my experience it doesn't. So that's something to keep in mind for sure. The CS2 Archon port, you can leave it the same, but I changed mine and I upped it up by 1,000, so it's 28015 instead of 27015. That again doesn't matter, but you just have to remember what it is. So for all intents and purposes, I think you should leave it the same unless you have a port confliction issue. Here you can set your Counter-Strike server password if you'd like. We are going to leave it blank for now. This is just for testing, so I don't really care if someone else joins the server. And if you want to make it public, I suggest leaving the server off, or the password off. You can set the max players here. You can set the Archon password here. I would change that to something that isn't just change me, but I'm going to leave it as that for now. We will be using the Archon feature in order to use console commands while the server is running. And then here you would set your maps. For right now, I just have a workshop collection that I created as the workshop collection that the server will cycle through, and then the starting map is just one of the maps inside of that collection. And then you can launch your terminal, Windows terminal, and you want to have PowerShell running. If you don't see PowerShell up here, you can do a drop down here and then select PowerShell. And once you've done that, you want to go to the directory where you keep all of your files. So this is CS2 server on my desktop. So I'm going to cd desktop CS2 server, enter ls. Okay, so we can see our data here. We want to run this Docker Compose file. So to run it, we'll just do Docker Compose up, enter, and this will run our server. And if you open Docker, it should pop up here. Let's see. And there we go. So we will allow this. And now you can see CS2 servers right here, and it should have two containers. It is our database and the server itself. Now you'll see the server itself is not running just yet. It's because it depends on the database, and the database needs to respond to a health check. And basically that's just to make sure that the database is fully up and running before the server starts. So now you can see the server is starting, and it will take some time to download the server files basically from the internet. So I'll probably skip ahead until to a point where it is complete, and then we'll continue from there. It took literally forever, but now all the files are done downloading, and it looks like it is working properly. So if you look, you can kind of see what's going on. World triggered match start on DE_dust2_night. That's just the first map that I had set. And yeah, you can see that everything is working properly. If you don't see this, then there is a problem, and I am not 100% sure what it would be. Because up until this point, it should be pretty straightforward, but it does get tricky here because now we're going to be adding some mods. We're going to be adding just an admin mod, so it'll let you basically make yourself an admin so that you can change the map on the fly, as well as ban people that shouldn't be in there. And I think there's some other tools in there that I haven't really used myself, but this will also kind of lay the groundwork if you want to add even more mods later on, like things for surf servers or bhop servers. So yeah, once it is up, you can actually just shut it down with either Control-C, or if you see over here, you have options as well. You can just hit the stop button. So we're going to hit the stop button there. It might take a sec. You can see they're loading. They're thinking about it. So now they are stopped, and we can go into the files and start messing around. So in our CS2 server directory here, you can see we have our CS2 data folder as well as our Docker Compose file. The Docker Compose file is the one that we ran before to install all the files that we needed. But in CS2 data, there will be things to edit now. So now we want to install Meta. We want the 2 something dev build. So the link will lead you here, and you want to grab the most recent Linux version. We want the Linux version because technically inside of the Docker container, we are running a very small version of Linux. So we want to grab the Linux version, so we'll download that and we'll send it right to the downloads, and it'll give you an add-ons folder. So now we want to grab the add-ons folder, and we want to take it into CS2 data, game, CSGO, and we want to drag it right here. So we'll just drag it over, let it load, and now it is in there. One important step that I forgot to mention is you want to grab the ACMRS script as well as the pre.sh script from the CS2 dedicated server folder, the one that you grabbed from my GitHub, and you want to just drag those into your CS2 data folder. You're going to be replacing the pre.sh script, and this will basically help with auto-updating the game. The process for updating the game isn't fully automatic, or updating the game files, I mean. So whenever Counter-Strike gets a new update, you are going to have to go in and delete Steam apps. There's another file that needs to be edited, but these scripts will handle that. So once that's done, we are going to start up our server again. Just going to take a second because the database keeps booting up. And while that does that, you'll want to install ARRcon. ARRcon will let us connect into the Docker Compose, or into the Docker container, and let us run commands on the server. Commands like kicking bots, setting cheats to 1 or 0, and other commands that you would normally run in a Counter-Strike console in-game. So we will go ahead to the Archon download. I think it's here, yep, and this is where it should take you in the link in my description. And we want to install the Windows version of ARRcon, save it to our downloads, and then open it up. And I just keep it inside of my CS2 server folder alongside the CS2 data. So I already have it in here, but it doesn't really matter where you put it. Once you've done that, you can see the server is up because it has world triggered match start. And what we're going to do is we're going to open a new PowerShell tab. We are going to navigate to the desktop CS2 server, and what we want to do is we want to run ARRcon. So I think I actually ran it before using the / command. Yep, that's the command I used, and I'll have this command as well in my description. But we want to run this. And now it says authentication successful, and now we can run commands. So what we're going to do here is test to make sure that MetaMod was installed properly. So we're just going to run the command meta. And as long as you get a basically a help document here after running the command meta, you should be good. So meta is installed correctly. So now that we know that, we can proceed on. So we're going to shut down the server again so we can install Counter-Strike Sharp. Okay, so you should be able to find the link to the CS Sharp download in the description, and it should take you here to this GitHub page. You just want to go down to releases down here, and you want to grab the runtime build for Linux.zip here. It's kind of hard to see, but you want to pick that one up and save it to your downloads. I'm just going to open it right away, minimize this to get it out of the way. And we have an add-ons folder here. If you open that, you'll see Counter-Strike Sharp as well as MetaMod. So we're going to go to our own add-ons by going to CS2 Data, Game, CSGO, and then add-ons. And we are going to just copy the contents of this add-ons folder and drag it into the one in our game. And what it'll do is it will merge the two MetaMod folders and add the Counter-Strike Sharp folder. Then once that is complete, we will start up the server again just to test. Mine has already stopped, so I will just Docker compose up, run it again. Again, you can do all of this right from here inside of the Docker desktop. I just like having it in the terminal. And if you've done it correctly, I'm going to actually scroll up. You can actually see CS Sharp saying things in the terminal. So that is a good sign. That means we are all set. And CS Sharp is now running. So once you've confirmed that your CS Sharp is running properly, you can start adding plugins. So the first plugin we are going to add, and the only plugin we're going to add in this video, is SimpleAdmin. SimpleAdmin will let you do basic admin commands like banning people right from in-game. And it's super useful, regardless if you want to run an actual modded server or just a normal scrim server or something. So what we're going to do is we are going to download the SimpleAdmin zip. It will go right to our downloads. We will open it. And it's labeled Counter-Strike Sharp. So what you want to do is open that and then drag this right into your own Counter-Strike Sharp folder. It will replace plugins and shared. And once that's done, you should be able to just restart your server. And once you do, it should be running properly. Once you've added SimpleAdmin and you've rebooted the server, SimpleAdmin should have generated files that it needs in order to work. One of which being the simpleadmin.json file. And I actually included the simpleadmin JSON file that you're going to need to replace the default one with. So what you should do is you should open it. I have it open already over here. And there's a few things you'll want to change. Now, if you followed everything in the tutorial, you don't need to change anything. But if you did change in the Docker Compose file, if you changed the database password, you're going to want to change it again in here. This is basically what is telling SimpleAdmin what the database connection credentials are. So you just have to change that there. And the last thing you'll want to change in here is the maps. So the map pool is set based on a name, which can be whatever you want. You can name the maps whatever, but this code is the workshop code to that map. Now this is separate from setting the map, the starting map and the workshop collection in the Docker Compose file. This is so that you can change the map on the fly in the SimpleAdmin menu that pops up in-game. So anytime you add a new map, you need to add it to the collection in the Docker Compose file, as well as to this simpleadmin.json file. So once you've set this and you're happy with it, everything is configured already as is if you haven't messed with the maps or the passwords. So you don't have to worry about that, but you do have to drag it into your server files. And once you've done that, you'll want to restart your server again. Once your server is back up and running, you can test to see if your SimpleAdmin plugin is working properly. And how we're going to do that for right now is we are going to use the AR-Archon tool again. So I'm just going to paste the same command I pasted before, and it opens up Archon at localhost again. We can run meta to see that everything is working properly, but what we're going to run this time is CSS, that's CS sharp _ add admin. There, so now you'll see expected usage, add admin, Steam ID, all kinds of junk. That's how you know that both CS source and SimpleAdmin are working properly. The next step here is to add yourself as an admin. So to do that, you need to get your own Steam ID. your name on Steam, the flags and groups that we want to add, which I'm going to tell you, and then the rest are optional. So what we're going to do is we are going to go to this website here, steamid.io/lookup. To run this lookup tool, you can either paste your profile URL, your Steam profile URL, or the if you have a custom URL, the name at the very end of it. For me, it's LiamA6, so we're going to type that in here, hit lookup, and it brings up the Steam ID information. So we want the Steam ID 64. So I'm going to just copy that there, and I am going to enter that in as a command. So our command will be css_add_admin, the Steam ID here, then the username, that is your Steam username, so that will be the name that you just set as whatever. I'm pretty sure it can be whatever you want. I'm not sure how important it is that it's correct. It may just be the name that they refer to you as when you're using the admin stuff, but I would just make it the same as your Steam just in case. Then you want the role. So we're going to go with the root role, and we are going to go with the 99 immunity, which means anyone below that won't be able to take precedence over the commands that you use. It shouldn't matter that much, especially if you're the only admin on the server, but we're going to set it anyway. If you go back to your server, you should see the admin manager reloading and loading one admin. And if you see that, that's how you know you did it right. One last thing that we need to do to make SimpleAdmin work properly is we want to get the supporting plugins to make sure that the menu system will pop up in-game and look proper. So I'm going to link all of these below. They're also just on the README of SimpleAdmin's GitHub, but we are going to download all of these. So we're going to grab this release, player settings, save, this release here, which is any base, save, and last but not least, this one is menu manager. So we're going to download that zip as well, save, and I'm just going to open my downloads folder. We're going to open any base. So we're going to navigate to our CS2 data folder again, game, CSGO, add-ons, Counter-Strike Sharp. And it looks like for this one we just need to replace the shared. So we're just going to copy this over, and it's going to combine with the shared, not replace, but combine. And then we're going to go back to our downloads and grab the other ones. It was menu manager and player settings. So we'll do menu manager. And you can actually just copy, you can just do Counter-Strike Sharp into the add-ons folder, and it will do all the heavy lifting. And then player settings, add-ons, Counter-Strike Sharp, drag that one in as well. And once you have all those, we can, again, restart the server. So once your server is up and running again, it is time to test. So we are going to go into the Counter-Strike console. Now, you may not have that enabled by default, so just go into the settings, search developer, enable developer console, and you want this set to yes. As long as you have it set to yes, it should by default be bound to your tilde key. So just tap your tilde key, and to connect, you can type connect space local host. If you left the port the same in the Docker Compose file, the just typing localhost here should be fine, but if you changed it, you do have to specify the port, so a colon and then 27015, and that is the default port. So localhost or colon 27015, it'll do the same thing. So we're going to hit enter, and if you see de_dust2night, then you know that the server is working at least. But the big concern is the admin command. Okay, I'm going to hit Y and type !admin, and there you go. So now you can see SimpleAdmin is popped up as a menu in the middle of the screen, and you can manage players, manage the server. There's a bunch of different commands that you can use, but this will basically give you full reign and control over the entire server, which is very useful so that you don't have to keep connecting through Archon to run commands, and you don't have to remember the commands either. Like, you can easily change the map by going to server manage, change map, and this list here is the list that you set in the SimpleAdmin JSON file. So from here you can just change the map and it will automatically do its thing. From here, if you want the server to work for your friends or for other people to connect, you do have to open ports on your network. I'm not going to cover port forwarding in this video. It varies based on what kind of network system that you're running, and it's fairly straightforward. And if you've ever port forwarded before, all you have to do is port forward the port that you set inside of Docker Compose. So in this example, it's 27015. If you forward that port for the IP of your computer that you're running the server on, you should have no issues. But yeah, that's it for this tutorial. I hope it was able to help people. I made this tutorial because I was unable to find a similar tutorial for specifically a Docker configuration. I'm a big fan of Docker because you can run it anywhere, so it makes things a lot easier to manage, and it's just a single file that you just run, and as long as you have everything configured properly, it all just works. So that's the main reason for making this tutorial, and I hope it was able to help somebody. So yeah, thank you for watching. This is my first YouTube video, so please don't bully me. Thank you.